Recording. Okay.
Great. Yeah. Hi. Welcome, everybody. Are we going to start a little bit early? I guess we will. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're pretty well close to the hour. So welcome everyone to another Wize Move Society live talk. And we're recording the session, as you're aware, and we'll be sharing it on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also on our Vimeo channel. We're happy to have you join us. And the focus of our conversations in these sessions is always on the 50+ generation, which is living longer, healthier, more active, etc. And we aim to give you a glimpse as to what's happening online on the Wize Move platform as well. To share, sharing a bit about the challenges and opportunities that the 50+ generation is facing. Now, if you're not a Wize Move Society member yet, we hope these conversations will trigger you to consider doing so, to becoming a member. Together, we can really create and be a part of solutions, and that's what we are focused on in the Wize Move Society and on our platform. So for those, and there will be people joining us as well on Facebook. So please do put your questions in, share your thoughts over what is being spoken about here, and we'll try and get to those questions as well. And I'm Mary Jane Roy. I've been a member and thought leader for the Wize Move Society for this past year. And I bring to the network, I believe, the perspective of starting a business when I was 56, 11 years ago. I'm a trainer and facilitator in organizations. And the areas that I focus on are building employee resiliency skills and strategies to create what I call staying power, to thrive. My co-host today is Dr. Tatiana Rowson, and the topic for today is about our upcoming Boomer or Bloomer What's Next Summit, and we'll be discussing the motivation behind this and what we're hoping to achieve. Our guest today, well, one of them is our very own Ingun Bol, who normally sits kind of in the chair that I'm occupying today, but in a different place. Ingun is the founder of Move into the Future, the Wize Move Society, and the Female Wave of Change. And I'm going to toot your horn, Ingun, because you've recently been nominated as one of the 40 over 40 world's most inspiring women, and as well also been recently nominated to the top 100 women in social enterprise for 2022 list. So hats off to you. And we have Mike Mansfield with us as well. And Mike is a thought leader, program director in the areas of longevity, retirement preparations, inclusion and diversity. And until recently, he led the Aegon Retirement Readiness Survey for the past 6 years. So he knows a lot about our age group. And Tatiana, I'm going to hand the mic over to you now to introduce yourself more clearly. And then Mike and Ingun, we're looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Oh, it's a pleasure to be sharing the co-hosting with you, Mary Jane. So
thank you.
For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Tatiana Rowson. I'm an academic, I'm a psychologist, and I'm a researcher studying midlife transitions and beyond. So trying to understand really how we make the most of this longer life we're living, and how can we find fulfilling activities, fulfilling work, and different ways to get the most out of life. I have to say that I'm really pleased that we're running this session. Of course, it's very warm welcome to Mike. It's always nice to have you here with us. And welcome to Ingun as well, sitting on that position. And for you out there listening to us, you don't know how many exciting and interesting conversations we have with Ingun offline. So you'll be able now to join the conversation and participate with us and see that there's a lot of thinking behind the things we're doing. And I'm not going to say any more without delaying anything. I'm just going to pass the mic to you, Ingun, and welcome you as our guest today.
Yeah, that's very special. And thank you for this warm welcome, ladies. Yes, for me, it's really exciting to do this this summit, Boomer or Bloomer. What's next? And especially because we're not doing it on our own, but we do it in a way that I think is very important, is to collaborate with other organizations. The issue, the challenges that we are facing right now are huge. And I think that there's already a lot of awareness that is being created, but we need to speed up that's you know, to really accelerate the solutions and the actions. And that is what you do when you do collaborate with other organizations. So we're really happy that we organized this summit together with Brave Starts from the UK. And Lucy Standing, she's one of the co-founders of that organization, is very active also in doing this. Today she was needed to be somewhere else, but is really well represented by Mike. And Mike is a member of Brave Starts and of the Wize Move Society. So you're half-half, 50-50 here in this, but you're a great representative also today of Brave Starts, and that's very important. Today we're testing our background for the summit. There will be small changes, but it already looks good. So really excited to be here. Mike, how about you?
Well, maybe my background is a good. I'm a bridge between the Brave Starts and Wize Move. Fortune, what can I tell you? So I'm lucky enough to be a member of both organizations. And as Ingun said, Brave Starts is based in the UK. It's a volunteer organization, and they're committed really to focusing on helping members get the most out of their working life. So they're helping people who are working, trying to figure out what the next step might be, or people who are in sort of the same demographic, who may be between jobs, think about what the next step would be. And similar to Wize Moves in terms of the way they approach, in terms of very community-based, very engaged, Brave Starts does a lot of work to help people through things like job shadowing, mentoring, and organizing events that people can get together and really understand what their options are out there. And I think that's really why the collaboration works so well. In terms of both organizations' missions are very aligned. And it's nice that there's overlap. Wize Moves is very international. Brave Starts is more focused in the UK, but there's some great overlap in the UK and also outside as well. So I'm really glad to be the bridge maker.
So I guess my question would be, for clarity, why the summit? Why is something like this needed? Ingun, if I start with you.
Yeah, why the summit? Well, Tatiana already mentioned some of the things that what is happening, and I always say paint that picture. What is going on? And luckily, we also have a great speaker at the conference that can do that, Bradley Sherman, who just wrote the book, The Super Age. But there's a lot going on right now. If you look at the demographics, it is, you know, the group of this 50+ generation, and we love to call it the wise generation, is growing so fast. And there are a lot of challenges that we will be facing in the very near future concerning this longevity, and how we can really focus on this group, really use their knowledge, their experience and their wisdom, but also to keep them in the workplace longer, and to work on retirement funds, because they're not big enough to live another 30 years after 65. So there's a lot of reasons why we should focus on what is happening in the workforce, what is happening with the members of the 50+ generation. Do they have to reinvent themselves? Are they going to choose a different career somewhere in their 50s? Are they going to choose senior entrepreneurship? And that is something that Mike will be focusing on. But there's a lot of things that we can focus on concerning this generation, and not just this generation, because it has impact on so many other parts of society and the economy that we really need to welcome them as well. So representatives of organizations, CEOs, HR leaders, but also the other age groups. You know, it's very important not to just talk with and to the 50+ generation, but also to involve those other generations that will be working with this older generation for much longer.
Tatiana, does this resonate with what your research has shown, et cetera? What is needed?
Well, I think it's resonates. It's interesting that for us, and I'm going to speak as us, even though I'm speaking about myself, but I know we share these conversations in different environments, not only here on our live. We are very aware of the time pressure on talking about an aging population, the need to think about financing retirement, the need to think about finding different ways of living, because I think that we've been, industrialized society has been very linear in the way they think about work and the way we think about work. We're still part of it, or I'm still part of it. But there are creative ways coming up that we need to tap into, and we need to rethink and make it work, make the business case and the moral case and the social case for it. Because I think without all these sides, we're not going to be able to make it happen. And I think without starting a conversation more publicly, expanding the conversation to other groups of people that might not be as aware as we are, it's an important part of building that future and making that happen. And I'm going to just finalize my answer to the question with another question, and I'm going to bring Mike, because I know, Mike, you know a lot about that, and you know a lot about the trends in retirement and the trends in exit of the workforce, and how much the data is showing us what we're talking about.
I think the data supports all the points that you made, Tatiana. The research we had done when I was at Ingun showed that only 1 in 3 people, and it was a fairly stable number over many years of research, only 1 in 3 people view their retirement as a cliff edge event where they might, working on Friday and stop working on Monday. The majority of people, I think it was 58%, well over 50%. So some form of transition where they were going to continue working in some form into what was beyond traditional retirement age. And I think it's for many of the reasons we've spoken about already. People are living longer, healthier lives. Work and life has become less sort of linear and compartmentalized. People, when they say they want to continue working, are often doing so for very positive reasons, to keep their brain alert, to stay active, but also for financial reasons. And I think tagging in that financial reason, the idea now that we can retire at 65 or in our mid-60s and continue to live without working or earning some money, at least into our, for a few more years, and support a life that's going to be well into our 80s, just doesn't work anymore. And we need to find ways of making this happen. And the other side of it, why I think the conversation is so important, is maybe to bring back some of the points that Ingun made, is there's a disconnect in the way employers are looking at workers. In the research, I think it was only around a quarter, maybe a bit above a quarter to a third of employees said that their employers offer them opportunities to transition into retirement or more flexible options. And some of this flexibility is not only going to benefit older workers, but it's going to benefit all workers. So there's a change needed, and I think that's really what we want to discuss in the workshop, which is why taking some of those points about flexibility, that multi-generational session that Ingun is going to lead, I think at the beginning, is really going to tap into an awful lot of benefits for employers and employees. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've got, what the conversation brings, and what Bradley as well and other guests are going to speak about.
It's interesting.
Tatiana, I would just wanted to maybe bring some clarity as to what are the topics, the three main topics that the days will cover. Is it now, or can we get to that later and then follow up, Tatiana, on what you want to ask?
No, I was about just to ask on that point, or the flexibility. I can see a big case for even women at work, and I know Ingun has a heart on that topic as well, and how many women arrive at that stage that is nearly retiring, not quite having done what they wanted to do in their working lives for various reasons, and having more flexibility and opportunity not only works well in terms of the financial side, but allowing people to fulfill the things they set themselves to do, that for one reason or another they haven't been able to do in their what they call prime working age.
Yeah, can I respond to that, Tatiana? Because I do believe in that is also an important issue, why we need that younger generation also at the summit. You know, if you are in your 20s, your 30s, and you feel like, it's only for the 50+ generation, no, don't. You know, this is also for you. If you are in your 20s or 30s right now, you will probably have to work until you're 80. And, you know, this is not something that I just, you know, is coming out of my head. These are predictions that are really, really very real. So if you are at that age and feel like, okay, I'm only going to work until 65, forget it. And it's because that stretch of that it's not this, you know, becoming older that we have a longer retirement. No, it is that we have that longer period that we will have to work. So this means that you will have to figure out what you're doing. So there's a lot of predictions, you know, to reinvent your life almost every 7 years, because change is going so rapidly that you will have to figure out, okay, so this is my role now. This can be a job or it can be a business, but change is so fast that you will have to reinvent yourself over and over and over again. So if you have to work until 80, you will do that several times. And this is also important information for if you are 50 right now, you still have 30 years to go until you're 80. So you still have to reinvent yourself several times. So that idea of when we, you know, went back, we're at school and thought, okay, let's find a job and work until 65, for the same company, for the same organization, that is not going to happen. So it's important for that over 50 generation to still, if you are still in that time that you need to work, and I think for my generation, that is until 75. So a little bit shorter than those who just come into the workforce. But it's still, if you're 50, that means that is another 25 years. So make up your mind and figure out what really great and passionate and things you can do until 75. Find your purpose, figure out what you need for that to be doing it, and really take that next step. And that is also so important for those for the younger generations, also to understand why this older generation now still in the workforce needs to reinvent themselves, needs to find that new role in organizations so that they can still contribute with all that wisdom, all that knowledge and all that experience, and really have great value for organizations.
Can I just add something to what you're saying? I think on two
Absolutely.
points, you're making some really important points, especially when it comes to women and retirement preparations. Women, I just pulled it up here at the side. Women, if I looked at research from the OECD in March 2020, women in European OECD countries over 65 earn 25% less. They get 25% less pension than men. And often it's because women have taken career breaks, women live longer. So for women, when you overlay gender on top of retirement preparations, you're into an area that needs some very careful thought and planning, because women are disadvantaged, and that's something that needs to be addressed in terms of how we prepare for retirement and the opportunities women have to save. But the other point you made about younger people as well, in the research we did, I think one very striking point for me last year was that young people, millennials in the UK, when we surveyed them, underestimated their own life expectancy by 12 years. So if you underestimate your life expectancy by 12 years, good luck saving for enough money to keep yourself going if you've undershot the mark by 12 years. So we really have to have a multi-generational conversation about retirement, and also make sure that we are completely inclusive in the benefits offered, so that men and women both can retire with financial security.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
given that, and I just want to share, because it touches on what you both have mentioned, but Renee put in the chat that it's a total change of perspective for the younger generations. And this is something that needs to be addressed as well. They need to be looking into the future for themselves. But given the themes, given these issues that you both have really explored here, again, I'll go back then to the question I had earlier, and that is about the themes of the 3 days. Can you share, Ingun, day one, what's happening, and why should people attend? What's in it for them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that I already shared a bit about why it's important to talk about that multi-generational workforce. And that is what we will be doing on day one, to really focus on, there will be so many generations represented in that workforce in the coming years, that we need to figure out how to work together, how to talk together, how to really respect each other, really embrace that multi-generation, that really wide knowledge, experience, and wisdom that is represented, and how we can use it, and how we can make everyone feel welcome, feel fulfilled, valued, challenged, etc. So there's a lot going on, and and that is also that OECD report that says 83% of the executives realize that they need to be doing something about this multi-generational workforce, and that they really have to do something in that work environment to make that happen. But only 5% acts. That is not enough, because this is not a challenge that we will be facing on the long run. It is something that we will be facing on the short run. Mm-hmm. So this is what we will be talking about on the first day. So that is multi-generational workforce. It is Bradley Sherman, the author of Super Age, who will be focused on, painting that picture. What is going on? He's been doing a lot of research, but he will be doing it in a more storytelling way. So it will not be slides with all kinds of numbers. We've seen it, we know that there's something going on. Another speaker that we have here is Aviva Wittenberg Cox, and she's exceptional woman, founder of the Elderberries. When she turned 60 recently, she has been writing about it, and also she is right now in that process of really defining her life. So it's really great to hear her story. We have the next one is Elizabeth Keener. She's from Capgemini, as you say that, in the Capgemini Invent, and really works a lot with those, the whole diverse workforce. So she's a great contribution. Viola Edwards will be there. She's also one of our thought leaders of the Wize Move Society. We'll do some breathing exercises. And that is for us is very important. We'll do a lot of work in breakout sessions. We can, of course, it is 3 days, 2 hours. And we can put a lot of speakers in those 2 hours, but we're not going to do that because we really want to be future and action focused. We want to be focused on interaction. So we want to make you think. And so there will be a lot of work in the breakout rooms, and we really want to hear the voice of the participants. So that is a little bit that's the first day, so multi-generational workforce. The second day, Mike, I think you should take over, because then you will be hosting that day.
I'm looking forward to it. So the second day is looking at senior entrepreneurship, and we're very lucky that we've got three wonderful guests joining us on that day. So we've got a professor from Boston College, Mary Croman, who's recently written a book about called Founders Over 50, Why They're Successful. And she interviewed many, many successful business owners who founded their businesses age 50 and above, and had some really interesting findings in terms of the sense of purpose that drove them to success and how they worked in multi-generational teams, linking back to the first day, and how that in itself made the businesses successful. And we've also got Elizabeth Azali, who's also going to be joining us, and she's done a lot of work decoding your entrepreneurial history and set up an organization called GIE, the Global Institute for Experienced Entrepreneurship. So they'll be giving us a little bit of the theory and their research and sort of the resources. And I'm thrilled that Han van Doren is going to join us. He is now 84, and he won the Silver Starters program that we set up at Aegon when he was 82, setting up a program called Are You OK Today? Really based on his lived experience to help people who are going through a similar situation. But I'm hoping again that we're going to hear these three guest speakers' input, would use their input for a discussion. But I really want to make sure, I see we have a lot of entrepreneurs, people who've defined themselves as entrepreneurs joining us. And I want to give them the opportunity to learn from these experts and learn from each other, to look at maybe what are some of the barriers that are stopping people, and where can we find some resources to help move people forward. It should be a good event on April 7th.
Absolutely.
You want me to get, Lucy's not with us today, but I mean, I've got the notes from her session.
Yes,
yeah, please do.
Sure,
okay,
yeah.
so Lucy's session on the 12th is going to be looking at how to live your best later life. And she's got three speakers joining her again. We've got Yvonne Sansino, who's a partner at Mercer and the co-lead of their work looking at longevity and 100-year life. And she's really going to focus on some of the reasons to be optimistic about opportunities and employment for people as they get older and 50 and above. And she's also going to be joined with a lady called Deborah Gale, who set up the Purpose Exchange in the UK. And this is looking at how people are leading more purposeful lives, to helping people age 50 and above find either volunteer or other projects that give them a sense of purpose. And then she's going to be joined by an old colleague of mine, Thomas Matar, who's done an awful lot of research showing that the better view we have of our future selves, the better we are able to prepare for the future. So really helping us to think about our future selves and show how that can really help ground us in our planning and our thoughts for the future. So again, very interactive, but we thought it was a nice, positive and empowering way to end the 3 days.
You know what, when I'm listening to all these, what is going on, I'm really so looking forward to these different sessions, and to hear all these speakers and to also be part of it, not just to, be one of the organizers, but to also really be part of it, and to hear, of course, the response of all the thoughts, the response, the ideas of all the participants. So really excited about it.
So I have one question, Ingun, for you and for you, Mike, and which one of you wants to speak on behalf of Lucy. So who are the people that will come and join you in these conversations? Are people like me that already have an interest, or an academic? Is it anyone interested in the subject? Is working people? Who should be joining us?
Well, yeah. Actually, everyone. Yeah, they should be. Yeah. You know, I'm always very, well, you know, open and you know, just join us all. You know, it's. But if you look at the real audience, of course, we want that 50 plus generation. And what is very important for me, because of course it's the 50 plus generation, of course it is the leaders in organizations who are really focused on that multi-generational workforce. Of course we want to see the younger ones, but what is very important, and I really want to stress that, we do not want to sing to, well, what we hear in the Netherlands, we have to sing to the choir, that you know, that everyone who is already involved in things like this, that those are the only ones who joins. This is something that will affect everyone. It will affect all levels of society. It will affect many industries. It will affect many individuals. It will affect financing, healthcare. You know, there are so many things that this issue is important to discuss together. That you know, I just don't want to limit and say, okay, we only want those. No, and of course, our intention as Wize Move Society is really move forward with this 50 plus generation, of course, but we need all the others to join us. So yes, everyone is welcome.
I think as wide an audience as possible. I know we asked on the registration form just a little bit of information about people, and we can see that there are a lot of people from different backgrounds in industry, academia, but as well people who are entrepreneurs starting up their business. And I think having those entrepreneurs join is going to be great for many reasons. Because I think one of the sessions is directly targeted at them. But I think that entrepreneurial mindset is going to, there are people who think in solutions rather than problems. So having them there at the other conversations is really going to help spark other ideas and hopefully bring the HR people and business leaders to new realizations that people who are 50 and above have got many great ideas and are really a talent pool that they need to embrace.
Thank you. I feel really excited about this extension of invitations to people that are not into the subject yet. And I have to say, I'll speak for my colleagues, the academics in this area. We tend to be the sort of down-to-earth academics because we like to speak the language that includes everyone in the conversation. You know, we can write the papers, you can write all the theoretical things, but we can actually address the real life issues. But we need that involvement of everyone. Otherwise, it's just nice words on a paper, on a report somewhere that doesn't quite get that action going. And I think this is, here in the UK, it's particularly timely. We got very recent data showing the number of people over 50 leaving the workforce post-pandemic. And the numbers are starking, especially when you put that against the numbers of the labor shortage that we already experience in certain areas as well. So when you put the two together, it's very hard to understand why we have all these people leaving because work's no longer fit for them. And the workplace is in need, desperate need for people to join. And for me, one of the key aspects here is there's a lack of knowledge of what's going on with people and a lot of misconceptions that became crystallized, such as after a certain age, you can't innovate anymore, you can't learn anymore, or you, and I think the entrepreneurial section of the summit's particularly interesting because we do have this, I'm not going to say we, because I'm not going to attribute that to us, but I would say there's this general view that for you to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be in your 20s. And that's not the case. That is not the case. So if you can be an entrepreneur outside, you can be an entrepreneur within an organization as well. You can help people to foresee problems because you've been there. And I think without bringing other people to this conversation, it's going to be very hard to break those stereotypes we now face.
Absolutely. But to that point, Tatiana, we've been running this Silver Starters program to help people age 50 and above answer two or three questions. One, is entrepreneurship something for me? And B, how do I go about setting up my own business? And I think both questions were important. Many people who came on the course didn't become an entrepreneur, didn't start up their own business. But I think when we did a survey after the course, what people told us was their self-confidence improved, the way they thought about things changed, and they felt that they had a more positive outlook. And I think even by going through a course on entrepreneurship or developing that entrepreneurial mindset, working in a company, even approaching other things in life, gives you a new energy and a new outlook that's going to be a tremendous boost that really will help keep you active and economically active longer in life. So it's so important. And I think a much underlooked benefit for employers not to offer courses like this for people to make sure that they keep people engaged.
It's true. Yeah, good point, Mike. Yep. And Gail, you're new to us. Maybe you could just quickly say hi and introduce yourself, and then what is your interest in being here? What brought you to this live talk?
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah, well, I've been following Ingun only since a few days on LinkedIn, and I saw basically about the talk tonight, and I'm interested by the topic of longevity. I've been researching on that, and I try to create a startup also to help seniors to stay active. Unfortunately, COVID started, and basically all my plans to meet physically to get them out of their home, basically, yeah, I had to stop. And yeah, I'm now basically working on other digital health project, but still very interested by the topic and wanted to learn more.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, and we hope you'll join us on at least one, if not all three of the days, because there'll be a lot shared for sure. And Renee, I saw your question, but maybe you can ask it rather than me phrasing it for you. And then also your thoughts and on what you've heard now about how the summit is set up and what themes are going to be covered.
Okay, thank you. So I'm actually also a thought leader in Wize Move Society. My focus is a little bit more on career counseling, leadership issues, and also coping with the potential challenges that gives you. My history is a long time in corporate, and since a few years, I also reinvented my life, and I'm a consultant and coach now. And what interests me indeed is it's sort of such an underestimated group of human resources, to put it a little bit neutral maybe, this group that some of us are belonging to. And I'm a deep fan of diversity. I'm a true believer in diversity. I think it's fantastic if we have diverse teams. It's challenging. It's so much more enriching. And I think older workforce or wiser workforce should be just part of the diversity policies in a company. And if we present it like that, then it's also easier than sort of presenting a totally new concept of, oh, now we also have to take care about this part of our workforce. So that's a little bit how I grew to look at it. I think day one is really interesting with the multi-generational workforce. for me, senior entrepreneurship is less important for me given my background, but of course a very interesting topic. And I think how to live that later life and sort of reinvent yourself, as you know, Ingun have spoken about, and everyone actually recognizes that I've lived that too. So I think that's really an important one. And I can only look beyond maybe now 3 or 4 years and see what comes next for me. So my question actually was maybe Mike and Ingun, you can talk a little bit about, so what would you really like to be the impact or the outcome of the 3 days of the conference? What would be sort of the deepest wish you would have for the outcome of the conference, if anything? Mike, would you like to start?
Sure. I mean, I think personally what I'd love to see is that, I'll answer the question this way. I definitely see that there is a disconnect between what people who are 50 and above want to do as their careers develop in the next stage, and what employers are offering. And if there was a really great outcome for me would be if we were able to facilitate some conversations in workplaces between employers and employees, honest conversations about, the training, the opportunities available for people, so that people have the ability to continue working, continuing developing, would be wonderful outcomes. So giving people the tools on both sides of the equation, the facts and the stories, because I think the stories are very important. That enable them to have honest conversations will be a wonderful outcome, and hopefully that will lead to some good practices in companies.
Thank you. Yeah, and I want to add to that is, as Wize Move Society is, the Wize Moves at the workplace, the program that we offer organizations really is very practical. It is very much focused on quick results. And I do agree absolutely with you, Renee. If we would add something on the plate of CEOs and HR leaders and, that executive level in organizations, and tell them, okay, there's another group that you need to target on, and they will feel, okay, they already feel overwhelmed of everything that is going on in the world and in the economy and in their organizations. And if we tell them, okay, this is you still need to do this 50+ thing. No, you need to work on diversity and inclusion. And now we want the 50+ generation in that equation. And that is very important. So on one hand, we do have, we have the people, we have the experts on Wize Move Society to work in organizations. But also, the Wize Move Society himself with the whole program to guide people, that 50+ generation, to take that next step. And you can work on all kinds of different things, so that whole healthy aging, physically, mentally and emotionally, but also building new networks if you move into a new phase in your life, to really find your purpose again and figure out what you want in that next step and what you need. There needs to be some upskilling, reskilling, and also that entrepreneurial part for us, leadership skills, entrepreneurial skills, and whether they do or do not start their own business, entrepreneurial skills are very important in organizations. So this is also the whole program of what is being offered at the Wize Move Society is of such great value. So of course, we want people also at the conference and at the summit to make them think, what is going on? What is going on in my life? But there's also that next step, and we don't leave them in the dark after the summit. They can join us. They can join Brave Starts in UK. There are programs for organizations, so it's not like we just do this out of the blue and then we feel like this is it. But I do believe that initiatives like this summit, and really talk with each other, really interact, there needs to be a next step. So it's after this summit, it is thinking about, okay, so what's next? Really, what is next, boomer or bloomer, not just for the individuals, but for organizations and for us as Brave Starts, as Wize Move Society. What is our next step, what we're going to do? So there's at all levels, there needs to be that move. If you don't move, you stay where you are, and that is just not going to help us to figure out what to do. I hope you're going to be there. And I know, Renee, that on the first day, your most important day, that you have a wedding dress fitting, and so you cannot join us. That is really too bad, but that is important as well. So it's
Sure.
yeah.
Nice one. I've just found out something I didn't know, Renee.
Yeah, my daughter's getting married, June 11.
Wonderful.
So we have a fitting.
Wonderful. I had a conversation earlier this morning with a group. I'm moderating a panel, so I was meeting the panelists for the first time, and all of them, of course, much younger than I am, and we were talking. The panel is going to be on D&I, breaking biases, the theme that IWD had for this month, but it sort of plopped out of my mouth, and I said, because I'm going to be 68 this year, one of the topics that I hope that we can address in all of this. I said it, and it came out and I thought, this is actually an oxymoron, but the forgotten child of D&I is the 50+ generation. We never get spoken about. These issues are not getting talked about enough in organizations. So, Ingun, I'm with you. I'm really, really hoping that this first day is going to, is going to open the eyes of corporate leaders, D&I people, L&D people, what's needed, or sorry, HR people, I should say, what's needed, and what are some of the small steps that could be taken to get things moving in the right direction. So you can quote me on that one, the forgotten child of D&I.
The forgotten child, yeah.
You often hear that ageism is the last acceptable ism in the workplace. I mean, we haven't done enough by any means, but we've done a lot of work over the past few decades to stem some sexist and racist behavior in the workplace. But ageism, the World Health Organization have a decade of healthy aging, and one of their eye-watering facts is that 1 in 2 people, are ageist against older people. And they do some tremendous work in terms of showing how ageism can be combated, but it is prevalent in the workplace, and to the point of having, if you look at employee resource groups, you've got employee resource groups for many different people within an organization. There's women's groups, LGBT groups, and ones based on race and so on, but very few on multi-generational. It's something that absolutely needs to change.
Yeah.
It's true. I think this is one of these messages that, again, you mentioned that earlier, and Mike mentioned as well, we need to communicate to all age groups. It's out of our own self-interest. Let's just communicate that, because we're building a better society, a more inclusive society that we all will benefit eventually. And I think that one of the very interesting things I see in these conversations is, because I often approached by journalists or to give a little comment on that, is how, again, we are being pushed to carry on stereotyping. So kind of questions I have, can you tell me what someone young has that an older person doesn't have, and the other way around? And I tend to always push back the question as people are so different. I can only compare people in relation to themselves, but one person is a stereotype of young and one person a stereotype of older. It's very hard to generalize. We do have different sets of circumstances and qualities. And I think that should be part of this conversation. We cannot bundle all up everyone in the same group and just attach the quality or pitfall or sort of an area of development for everyone.
Did you know that the 50+ generation is the generation that is the one who does a lot of the ageism thing? We're part of it. We're part of the problem, not only of the solution. So it's and that is also something I was reading in the book of Bradley in Super Age. Is you know, especially this generation, you know, when we were in our 20s. We were the ones that were really focused on, you know, you need the younger ones, you know, the older ones. We were the ones that were really stereotyping. We wanted them out of the organizations. And we have been part of that problem. And now still, you know, now we are the older ones. And now we feel that the older ones are very important to stay there. But we invented ageism, and now we feel like we're the victims. So it is something that we need to be very much aware of, that we have been part of that problem, creating that problem. So now we really have to work hard on finding the solution. So it's a really interesting way of looking at that.
Yeah, it
I
definitely
think
is.
even younger people experience ageism as well. And I mean, we need to recognize that. And if we collectively work on the problem, you won't end up with this intergenerational conflict. Not it's too strong a word, but this intergenerational
Tension.
Reluctance. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's important as well, because how many bright young people are told, oh, we're looking for somebody with a bit more experience or something like that, when they have the brains and ability to do it, and vice versa. We're often told we're overqualified, or, you know, it's, we need to rely on people's abilities, not their chronological age.
I've just put a quote in, and Renee, this is from Tatiana, from one of the live talks, and I had quoted this in an article I wrote, I think for Thrive Global, but I put it in the chat, Tatiana. But what you said on that day, and I can't remember in what context, but we relate to people as stereotypes. We tend to lump people into a big stereotype. I say we because it's part of how our brain works, and we stop relating to people as individuals. And I just want, because I think it's such an important point that you just raised, Tatiana, that you know, asking for generalizations from about a younger person or about an older person, that we can't do that. We have to stop thinking in generalizations. Yeah.
And I think in a way which I would like to see everyone that's listening, and you that's listening us on Facebook Live and later on recording, tell your friends and your neighbors and your contacts to join the summit, because information is a gift. The more we know, the less ignorant we are on something. The more we relate to people rather than to those ideas that we see in our popular culture. And I think it's important. If we list people in different age groups doing amazing things, young and old, we'll get surprised that there's a lot of people getting on with life in different ways. So there's a living proof that there's different ways of doing things and the opportunities for all in the current circumstances. So if you open even more, I think we'll be into something very, very interesting.
Shall we do a quick end round? Ingun, what would you like people to take away from today's conversation? What would you like to share as last words?
Well, of course, it is, I would like to welcome you all at the summit. You know, I hope that this conversation today give you a glimpse of what we're going to do at the summit and what it will mean, what it will bring you, because that's very important. And so join us. And it sounds long, 3 days, but it's only 2 hours per day. And it's going to be very effective, very interactive. So and with fantastic speakers. I'm really very thrilled that we have all these fantastic speakers on board. So somewhere in the comments, we'll share the link to the website where you can find more information and where you can register for the event.
Yeah, I do have it. I have it in there already. And
Okay.
Gail had asked for it as well. Renee, let me go to you. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I was just sort of triggered a little bit by this interesting thought of our younger generations and how they need to prepare. And I was sort of course, you are a little bit aware of it because I'm working and talking with you, ladies and gentlemen, already for a couple of months on the topic. But this was really a nice eye-opener for me. Okay, it's of course also for other generations because they will need to shift their perspective. So I thought that was a really interesting eye-opener and sort of good thing to take into the conference. And to Ingun, I mean, I don't think it's long, you know, I like the fact that 3 days, 2 hours, even also if you're working, you can always slot it in. So I very much like this, much more than have 6 or 8 hours on Zoom in a day. So I love the way you have set it up too. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Renee. Gail, how about for yourself?
Yes, thank you very much. I mean, what stays with me is that millennials underestimate their life length by 12 years, and that basically they're going to have a double problem. And so that, I mean, it opened my eyes that basically there's much more than we need to do in terms of raising the awareness, not only executives, but also the younger generations. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gail. Thank you. Mike, how about for you? Last words.
I think we've spoken a lot about, not a lot, we've spoken a little bit about some of the issues and some of the issues that are persistent, ageism and other things there. But I mean, I think the focus of the conference really is going to be on the positive. Work brings purpose and pleasure to people. And if we want to enable and facilitate people to be able to enjoy work, have it part of their life, and give them that sense of contribution longer in life so that they can make the choices they need and the decisions they need when they're right for them. So it's really about giving people choices and setting the groundwork so that is really possible. And I hope really that that's part of our outcome, but I know it definitely will be part of our discussion. And I hope through having the discussions and discussions like this, we move the ball forward a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you. Tatiana, for yourself?
I don't know where the time's gone, Mary Jane. This conversation went really quick. So I think that sums it all. I think it's really exciting that we'll be seeing the positive side. So thank you, Mike, for emphasizing that, because it feels you're talking about something that is problematic. And of course, there's a lot of concern there, but there's a lot of opportunities. And I think that is what we should be watching out for. What the opportunities that are there, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. I see Renee saying good one. So I'm going to wrap up. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm super enthusiastic about the whole 3-day sessions. I'll be a facilitator as well at each of those days for some of the breakout rooms that are going to be happening, the discussions, and I'm really looking forward to that. In closing, we're coming up to the hour. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you to those who are listening later and taking something away from this conversation. We hope to see you on April 5th, April 7th, and April 12th. And do check out the Wize Move Society and Brave Starts. Find us online. And I will say, Ingun, I think the best place for them to look for information on the Wize Move Society is through Move into the Future. Am I correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will, especially on Facebook Live, I will share also the link to the website.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, and see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Okay.
This is
Bye-bye.
brilliant.
Bye.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks,
Bye-bye.
Tatiana.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.